Our very special guest this week is the handsome and talented Santiago Cirilo. Now, Santiago is an actor, having acted in many TV shows and movies. He's a guitar builder, having worked for Gibson Guitars in Nashville, Tennessee, and he is a U.S. Armed Service veteran, having served in the 101st Airborne Infantry Division at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. But he's also an author, having penned a sensational book, A Veteran's Homecoming, which we're going to talk about tonight. So where do I begin? Well, my wife and I, Jen, met Santiago about 10 years ago at the Mid-South Paracon in Louisville, Kentucky. We were there to see our good friends Keith Age, Jim O'Rea, Scott Tepperman, and the spiritual warrior Bill Bean. So here we are talking to Jim and Scott, and this booming voice breaks across the conversations in this big room. I don't remember what he said, but I remember asking Jim O'Rea, who was that? His reply was, oh, that's just Santiago Cirilo. So the New Yorker in me had to go back to see who this was. That was the first day I made friends with my acquaintance Santiago Cirilo. We would see each other at Paracons throughout the tri-state area here, and Scarefest when he made Rosalia. See, Jen and I are great friends with Elena and Chris Magid, who directed the film, most of which was filmed at Pottstown School in Middletown, Ohio. In fact, at a Mid-South event where we had Robbie Thomas and his wife, we all went to dinner in Kentucky, as well as visited his film company's office. So, last time we saw him was in Fort Wayne at a Paracon, and we even had dinner together at some Irish bar or restaurant. In his boots, people recognize him from Nashville, as well as The Walking Dead. After reading this book, I'll always remember the veteran, Santiago Cirilo. So sit back and enjoy the podcast with the impressive Santiago. Santiago, how are you? There you are. Thank you for joining us tonight on our show.
Yeah, buddy. Hey, that intro made me feel like, dude, I felt like I was in the Oscars getting ready to get an award, dude. That intro was off the hook. Made my nipples hard.
Hey, there we go. Okay, you're the first guest that the nipples have gotten hard from. So I guess I'm moving up in the world now. But it's honestly true, because I sat here and I started to think about where did I ever meet Santiago? Where's the first time we met? And I remember that it was that little small room, and you were up against the back wall, I think, with the Booth brothers were on one side, and you were on the other. And I remember you yelling something out. I saw you laugh when you heard that, yelling something out across the room. And they're like, oh, no, that's just Santiago, okay? And over time, yes, we've gotten to know that's just Santiago, okay? Like even when we went out the last time in Fort Wayne, you were with a group of people. I was with Scotty Rourke and my wife and stuff. And I think the two groups met somewhere in the street. And we said, and we're hungry. We need to eat someplace. You're like, yeah, we're hungry. And we looked over and we're standing in front of an Irish pub. We're like, that'll work.
That'll work.
Yeah. And we just went in and had a good time. So, Santiago, thank you for coming with us. And I want to say, in case I forget later, thank you for your service.
I appreciate it, brother.
Okay, I mean, because that does mean I come from a family of military people, and it's even more interesting. My dad was in the Rockazans.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and still to this day, runs the New York chapter of the Rockazan, the association there, and 91. But up until about 2 years ago, he still marched in every parade up Fifth Avenue with the Rockazans. Yeah, he would get in uniform and they carry the flags and everything, because the 101st Airborne, they were sticking to every time.
So, yeah.
Yep.
That is history. That is history.
Sure is. So take us back, okay, our audience back a little bit. Tell us about where you were born, what your childhood was like.
First and foremost, Steve, it's good. It's good. It's an honor. It's amazing, and it's a blessing to be on your show, my brother.
Well, it's a blessing to have you here, as I said.
But yeah, man, I was born in Fajardo, Puerto Rico, and was raised in Lorain, Ohio, next to Cleveland. Then, I went to college. I was a goofball studying law. and I was pretty much out of money, and you know, looked up at this guy walking up to me, a recruiter, asking me for a light to light a cigarette, and he's like, you know, do you have a light? And I was like, do you have a contract? So there I was, you know, following my ancestors' life. You know, my grandfather's been in World War II, brother's been in the U.S. Navy. You know, I have a lot of family that's been in the military, so it is a pretty much a whole done deal had to happen. Been deployed, did my thing, got out, and ended up, I was in Fort Campbell, of course, 101st Airborne. I was in 3rd of the 502nd Infantry Strike Brigade. I was in my battalion. Of course, we were all called the Widowmakers. So, but anyway, yeah, man, my buddy got out of the military, and he started working for Gibson Guitar. And as people understand, I don't know, I think it's the words getting out there more, but people don't understand that term. We're like, hey, he's not the dude that we knew before, or that person we knew before, or you know, veterans telling like how hard it is to adapt to society. Well, my buddy was going through that, along with a lot of my other friends that served with me. And I was getting out, and he was like, hey, I'm going back in. I can't handle the civilian world. And I was like, well, I need a job. So we switched. Actually, Gibson Guitar let us switch, you know, because they know when, like, veterans, you guaranteed they know you're going to work, you know. So there I was, you know, he went back in, got into special forces. I got back. I went to civilian and started working for Gibson. And it's crazy, the story. And I love saying this example so people can understand the difference, and the whole world is different to us when we return back to civilization. And I don't want to disrespect people like saying civilians or civilization, because we're trained. We're in the combat mode all the time. We're in survival skill all the time, and we go through a lot of stuff before people wake up in the morning. So, you know. So anyway, so yeah, man, I go in there and they put me as a sander, and I think we had to pull like 100 and something or 300 and something guitars a week or a day during that time, and I was either doing that number or getting close to that number a day. So they were telling me, you know, slow down, this ain't the army, you know, because I was just prepping the guitars for the painters. And sure enough, they had to move me around to slow me down. And they put me in charge of CHET ATKINS guitars, literally put it together, build the whole guitar, you know, get the piece of wood, and I just put it together, soldering electronics, tuning it, stringing, you name it, you name it. So they had a certain number a day through a week, and I did that number every day, to the point where they couldn't sell enough CHET ATKINS guitars to keep up with production, which is weird, huh?
Hey, Chet,
So
some more guitars.
yeah, so anyway, they ended up putting me in charge of all the artist guitars. I did guitars for Kid Rock, Kenny Chesney, good Lord, AC/DC, Aerosmith, you know, Lenny Kravitz, Keith Urban, Toby Keith, all them guys. I mean, Aerosmith, all them guys. And yeah, so I was doing that for a minute, and at the same time, I was going to school at night, studying law. And I literally did, you know, my wife was pregnant at the time. And so what I did, it was, you know, I had 3 hours sleep, because that's what I had. I mean, that's how the military works. You know, I literally am trained to have 3 to 4 hours sleep. Same thing with eating. I eat now and taste it later, you know, so. So anyway, yeah, so I was going to school, got my law degree, joined the law firm, expanded myself as a lead paralegal, to the point where I was settling cases more than the attorneys were. And the partners lived in one of the partners lived in Israel. I was his paralegal and personal assistant, and I was doing a lot of great things, you know. And then I was at lunch, and I was working them 12-hour, 13-hour shifts. Whether, you know, right after graduation from Gibson, moved on to this. And I was like, man, what do I want to do in life? You know, I was just talking to myself, talking to God, trying to be, you know, strong willed. And here comes this commercial. Want to be an actor? Uh, yeah. You could be in the entertainment business now if you just take our courses and all that. You know, so I still had money on my GI Bill and everything. I even put stuff on my credit card. Why not? You know? So yeah, I did a course for 2 years. And after that, I just studied the business of entertainment. And if I'm going big, I go big or go home. And I went to a big audition out in Texas, flew from Nashville to Texas, got hired to be represented by Dakota Fanning's agent, Cindy Osbrink. Went to LA, um, stayed out in LA. Same time, I had my family in Tennessee, and I was going back and forth, you know, and still working the law firm. I was, wow, you know, it was crazy. It was to that point where I had to make a decision, and I already knew what I was doing. But anyway, long story short, you know, the film incentives in the South got better, bigger, and more protected for filmmakers and the towns and communities. So it was very cheap to make a movie than going to Hollywood. And I stayed in Nashville and got an agent in Tennessee, and Talent Trek's been my agent for over 20 something years. I've been on hit movies, hit TV shows because of the changes of the tax breaks. You know, instead of hiring a Hispanic Santiago in LA and Chicago, New York, they had one down the corner. You know, so I filmed everywhere in the South, and knock on wood, you know, it grew to a big popularity with me being on great TV shows and movies to the point now the independent film community is big because Netflix and all them StreamYards and all them guys, Tubi, all I can name them all, and even future ones that are getting created are picking up like the old school, like Blockbuster. They're getting all the B movies and filling up their library because they know if they pick, you know, because these main actors are either doing union or non-union, and they know if we do a movie for whatever money or we're investing money, that's gonna go because our name already carried from working on X-Men, working on Walking Dead, working on, you know, so knock on wood, man, I'm involved in that, and along with doing a lot of paranormal, of course, investigation. I'm in the paranormal world, working on TV shows and stuff like that, and movies with that, and horror. But you know, I do a big thing called the Haya Nation, which we promote against bullying, suicides, addiction, help people out to promote and small businesses and entrepreneurs, and do a lot of great things, especially for veterans out there that are battling with PTSD, man. So yeah, that's what I'm doing, and I'm an author. Then I wrote a book.
I'm gonna have you send me information on that last thing you were talking about, so I can post it up for people so that they can find more information on that as well, and we'll help push that. Now, it's actually interesting because you did something while you were talking that freaked me out for a second. Because number one, I hadn't even realized the hat you had on until just now. Okay, that we're wearing that. But you did something that I do all the time, and at least here in Indiana, they look at me like that New Yorker has lost it. When I say, knock on wood, and people don't get that. Okay,
Right.
what the hell is wrong with you? Okay, but I just don't know. But I saw you do that. I was like, oh crap, somebody else does that too. It's not just me that's doing it. So, but now, okay, we're going to just slightly back up just a little bit. You had 6 siblings, correct?
Yeah. All my brothers, and I have one sister.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you came to Ohio, if I remember correctly, you guys had a pretty small place.
Oh yeah, man. We had like a 2-bedroom duplex. We lived in houses, but everybody either bunk bed, not even bunk beds, couches, floors, all that stuff. My mom and dad never had their own bedroom pretty much because everybody else slept in it and stuff.
Well, it's good that if they had 7 kids already, maybe it was good that there was some sleeping in there, whereas you'd had 15 or something like that. So,
yeah, we were very poor, man. We were very poor, but we carried on with a lot of love, man. Let me tell you, my mom's love. Whew.
Yeah, you know what? I was my first marriage was to a Puerto Rican, so I know a lot about Puerto Rico and Puerto Rico customs and stuff. And yes, they're big families, but the moms are really there for their children, all their
Yep,
children.
yep.
No matter how many children there are, they're always there for them, and I always admired that about them. So when did you get okay after all of that law firm, acting, and everything else? How did you decide to come up with a book to be an author? I mean,
Man,
I know you wanted another mark on your resume.
yeah, well, here's it's crazy because I met a young author named Kendra Souter out of North Carolina, and you know, I was going through a bad depression because I was trying to pitch out scripts, you know, and at the same time, I was still filming and everything, but I was making everybody else money, and I wasn't making money for myself. I was making these film companies money. You know, they own a lot of rights to things. And don't get me wrong, I love filming, but I wanted to tell my stories. I got 9 or 10 scripts or so forth, and evidently pitching the scripts around are not as secured as you think it'll be. There's actually people out there that um, take advantage of their stardom, and they use them scripts of other people's stories and pretty much steal them, man, steal their ideas and so forth. So I was in that zone to the point where I met Kendra Souter, and I was like, hey, I just wanted to read a book. And she had these short story books, you know, and they were like soap operas, novelas, they call them in Spanish.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And amazing, amazing writing, amazing. You know, when you're transformed into that world. And I just went back to her and I was like, oh my gosh, da da da. And I introduced myself, and I said, I got this horror story, and I want you to check it out and see what do you think. So I gave her the script of Zombified, the Headhunter, and I told her I want to make it a series. Man, within like a few days, she goes, "Oh my god," because I didn't finish it. So she goes, "Oh my god, I want to choke you. I need to know more." Da, da. I was like, "Do you think I could write?" She goes, "You can write. You're amazing." You know, and just give. And she's won a lot of these awards around for an author and writer. And I was like, "Can you help me?" And she's like, yes. And so we made this deal. We put out the book Zombified, the Headhunter, and it took off. And I was like, oh, wow, you know, we had deals with Netflix and a whole bunch of things. We were in talks with other people. And then, of course, the pandemic happened. So things shut down, and we revamped it and released it and said, the heck with it, man. We'll eventually turn it into a series, a TV show, whatever. And let's just do another book. And at the same time, while I was writing the second book, I said, I want to do this Veterans Homecoming book. I need to do this Veterans Homecoming book. I'm gonna do this Veterans Homecoming book. So yeah, I ended up with some editors and friends and connections, and again, I had to face a lot of places, even people that are super millionaires and wanted to take advantage. So I had to go to the independent world, and that helped me secure a good confidence and trust in people who are just as hungry as I am, but at the same time they show their art and talent first and not worry about the money. And it worked out fantastic. So I wanted the script turned more into a book, but at the same time keep a format of a script and tell a story. I was tired of the military stories that Hollywood was making money off of people's sad story and tragic stories and all that. I wanted to tell a good story based on some of the true events and stuff, but I wanted to make a Hallmark kind of happy kind of motivation to know that you're not alone being in dark times, PTSD, suicides. You know, after my best friend and military brother committed suicide, hours after I spoke to him or texted him on the phone. This is when you had them little texting flip phones.
Mm-hmm.
Eating, having fun, hot wings. Oh, I remember everything. Next morning, his a friend of his wife calls me and gives me the news, you know, and I about flipped. I yelled. I threw the phone. I freaked out. I mean, every piece of freaking guilt, like it's all my fault. I let him down. I'm gonna just. I could keep on, you know. At the same time, I was going through depression because my mom was dying of cancer, and as you know, moms in these big families, Italianos, Spaniards, uh, Greeks. I mean, I could go on with the whole connection of the Spanish community and attachments, you know, through our history. And but they're our mama. It's our mama, you know, our mom, you know. And so here's the deal, you know. My mom, my best friend commits suicide. A week later or so, my mom dies of cancer. I'm driving and going ballistically crazy. My PTSD. I was just got, you know, I'm still working on the military, trying to be a civilian, and come home. My dog, my family dog's best friend, man's best friend, farm dog, because we got a lot of land. A wind or something brought debris and dogs suffocated on a bag of chips, and there you go. That was my whole couple weeks that experience. And sure enough, you know, my mind went to another place. The history of me trying to commit suicide for being bullied and so forth hit that mark. And, you know, I created a deal. I pretty much said, you know, God, take this pain away or I'll take it away. Instead of hallelujah, amen, I screamed Hayah. And the Hayah Nation was born. So I do it everything to motivate myself, whether I'm nervous or I'm going to do shows or whatever I do. I either mumble or scream or yell Hayah, and it attached to people and followings. And I tell my story with that one word. And at the same time, I wrote this book and it got out.
Why do you think, before we go into the book, you made me think of a question. Why do we allow so many veterans to come out with the PTSD and stuff and not give them the help that they need right away? I mean, we're willing to ask them to come in and risk their lives, but we're not willing to say, okay, you can go and we're going to help you on the way out the door. I mean, I don't get that.
Yeah, well, the military is um, always shown either way where we how do you say, we volunteer.
Right.
But growing up in the uh, late 70s, 80s, and so forth, all we saw was commercials. Be all you can be, you
Mm-hmm.
know, Marines, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, the songs, all that stuff.
Whoa, yeah. I can sing the song.
Then, but we haven't been in war for so long. So it was just nothing. It was nothing to people. No one paid attention to the suicide rate. Everything in the media and everything was advertised in business or in top TV shows or, you know, AIDS pandemic, all that stuff, everything. And then we go into war, Gulf War. You know, we go into the Saudi wars. We go into a whole bunch of Iraqi war. We go on to all these wars and secret missions start forming and showing. People had that PTSD, that tragic, that whole deal that no one saw that because it was never, you know, people didn't understand that. Even though World War II veterans, Vietnam veterans, all these people were going through it. They either thought they were crazy, they either thought they needed a straight jackets. You know, back in the 70s, you know, funding for mental health was totally taken away. Whether it was the Jimmy Carter, the Reagan, you know, no argument. It was the government, bottom line. You know, and that part didn't know that it was highly used by veterans. That was their way to freaking get help because there was no such thing as veteran cares and so forth. So we rise up to 22 veterans a day dying of suicide, addiction on the rise, all linked to veterans. People, mental health issues, whether it's suicide or just going ballistically out killing innocent people. I could go on with a lot of stories. Bottom line is, it is always seen when before we go out, before we leave to the civilian world, before we go into the civilian world. And it's never helped because there's no benefits out of it. There's no promotions out of it like they used to. When you're in service, you work. There's no counseling for it. It's the same thing as school. We get school shootings for bullying and all that. And it's because we're still in that market. Go to school, get out. I can't wait to get out. I can't wait for the weekend. I can't wait for vacation, all that stuff. And then it comes to a shooting. All of a sudden, you want to introduce people to more counseling. You want to help children do after school specials and all that. But it was never like that. But now it's getting back to that. Let's try to make more money out of something. Let's try to market something. You know, I get upset when there's shootings or tragic moments and we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to make a monument, a water fountain. We don't use that money to help for counseling, to help young kids, teenagers, adults, veterans, elderly. I mean, it's out there, you know.
If you do, the money's not going to reach the people it's been earmarked for. Okay,
it does that. Think about it. You know, when you go to corporate stores, corporate America stores, and they go, hey, you want to donate $1 to St. Jude's or that? Do you understand what they do? They get that money and they write it on their tax forms as a write-off. They use your money to write it off on the tax form, and only a certain percentage actually goes to the foundation.
See, I've always said, like I know here we'll be spending at least the last month here in this area, but I always believed there were a couple of churches, especially here, that you'll help the poor. Once a week, they do a food giveaway. Okay, Walmart, in our Walmart here, I guess the food's still good, but after a certain date, they can't sell it. Okay, so instead of throwing it out, they come and pick this food up, and a lot of the seniors and stuff come down. And, you know, I'm a senior now. I understand. I can't get, thank God I got a pension, because if I didn't have a pension, you can't live on Social Security.
Right.
The amount of money you get. I understand why these people are doing what they're doing in line and stuff. But the money, at least, if you give to the church, they use it to buy food. They don't use it, you know, to pay the minister with and stuff like that. I'm talking about if you donate directly towards their whatever, their soup kitchen or whatever. Do it to that, because at least you know if you gave them $100, $100 is going to go to buy food and everything.
Right.
Not going to pay some CEO's salary of like $13 million when is that the Salvation Army or one of those? Like $13 million. Sorry. Okay, you know what? You can make 50, 100,000.
They do that. I used to have a buddy when I grew up in high school. I was in college and I took a buddy to work. He worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken. All that food that they had left over that was cooked, they throw it in the dumpster.
Yeah.
In the dumpster.
They sure do. And believe it or not, it's against the law for them to give it to like a homeless shelter.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's
past its prime thing and they're legally liable for it. So if you want it, it's out there in the dumpster. Go dumpster dive for it, okay? It's insane. So all right, so we went off a little bit, but it was
totally understand. It's a good thing.
The rent was worth it. The Veterans Homecoming. So I started reading it and I didn't know anything about what it was about. I mean, I really didn't. Other than I knew you were a veteran.
That's the mystery. That's what I wanted.
Okay. So I started to read it and said to myself, okay, is this your story when you came back? Okay, what starting off, okay? Obviously the story takes off and it's like, okay, either there's more about Santiago I don't know, or this became a work of fiction, okay, at a certain point. How much of at least the beginning portion of that was you?
Yeah. Yeah, you could tell by the character's name is Daniel. Okay, Daniel's a real friend of mine that served in 3 wars.
Okay.
To the point where he had to take a needle about this big to break his collar tissue so they could shoot it down because his adrenaline level was so high that if someone followed him around, he thought someone was following him. He attacked people in stores thinking someone was following him, you know, and all that. You know what I'm saying? So to the point where he couldn't work with civilians. So the government actually takes veterans, soldiers that get out or retire and rehire them as government contracts. So that's what he had to do. And I put that in Daniel's name. Of course, there's an ambush scene, and that's real. That really happened to a friend of mine named Andy. There's some things. Jonathan Booker is the friend of mine who committed suicide, my military brother. But there's a lot of more attachments to it. But there is some truth into it. But there's also some other things where it goes into the good old test your faith and the whole how do you say, it's a wonderful life kind of feeling.
I was about to say, and I described it differently when my wife Jen asked me about it. I said, I said that's a Hollywood movie. That's what I literally called it, because I could see me sitting in a theater watching that on the big screen. Okay, it really is something that would keep me. I'm not. For me, it would probably be at home. I don't go to movie theaters, but I
Right.
could still sit there and watch that all the way through as a movie.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
on Netflix or something like that, or even Amazon Prime or something, and say, "Wow, that's really cool."
So
You
think
know,
about it. It's what nine. It's totally the total pages. Everything is 101, which
just saying,
represents the 101st Airborne.
okay.
But it is 97 pages of reading. The reason why I wanted it like that is just like a script. Scripts are like 120 pages and all that. But I wanted it that way because I didn't want it to grow dust. People read books and 150 chapters. And I said, I don't want Lord of the Rings kind of deal. I just wanted to show you, get to the point, hit you with a message and a feel-good moment, and then you put it away or pass it around, instead of just sitting there taking 3 years to read.
Well, the link for this is here in the YouTube thing. They'll see a link for this. Okay, so not to confuse people while we look a little strange here, is because, as I said earlier, we're recording this now because we have conflicts coming up. I'm moving, and stuff in the evenings. So we're recording this and we're actually showing it. You're probably watching it, folks. Here it's Thursday. Okay, if you're watching thinking live, well, it is live because we're not editing any of this. It's just that we were live last week. Okay, we just weren't live on Thursday. So what was that?
That was an incoming call.
Okay,
I got rid of it.
I was like, oh, wait a minute, that wasn't in this room. Okay, what was that? Okay, tell me about the paranormal.
The paranormal world is very interesting, man.
You
I've
understand
been
I've been a paranormal investigator for
Yeah,
46 years.
yeah. I'm more like a ghost magnet. I think it deals with things that happened with me when I was a child, um, um, experiences I had. When you grow up in the late 70s, 80s, if you tell people you heard voices or seen things, you were in a padded room, fed pills, and But now it's such an open market. But I ended up, of course, being part of a horror convention, me being a horror actor, Walking Dead, and a lot of stuff, and Rosalie and everything like that. Um, I got introduced to these conventions where I met Keith Age, which worked in a lot of
He's
stuff in
been
the
on this
paranormal
show
world.
too.
Yeah, History Channel and so forth. And he goes, man, there's something about you. He goes, I feel something about you, and I don't hardly feel that, kind of deal. And
Did Robin
anyway,
know
long
about this?
story short, he introduced me to a lot of paranormal people. And we ended up this group. He took me to a house in Kentucky, 100 years old or more, slave tunnels under it. But things happened. Videos, stuff was recorded. Uh, Lights flickering. So much crazy things happened to the point where it got back to Keith. People were trying to get me booked through Keith, thinking he was my agent. And I started doing investigations, and again, knock on wood, every investigation I've been through, there's things that happen that people that have been in the industry for over 30 years or so have flipped out. History check. I did a thing in New York in Rolling Hills Asylum in New York.
You know.
And we did an investigation there. Girl felt possessed, crying. They saged her down. She was crying, bawling. This is not the first time that happened when someone was around me. And lights flickering when there's no lights, no bulbs, nothing. Um, to the point where like a week later, my name was still heard in a lot of stuff that History Channel was filming there, and they were like, "Who the hell is Santiago?" Anyway, the word got around, and long story short, man, I got to visit these facilities, do investigations. A lot of people that know me personally, that know that I'm not a fraud about it, because I keep none of the evidence. They keep the evidence. They send it out, so you see it. Oh, it's been edited. They see. I guarantee you, nothing has come back in the way where it's negative. People are like, man, there's a girl following you. There's pictures of grid squares. Just, I mean, a whole deal. Even when we filmed Rosalie, I mean, a lot of stuff. And I continued today to the point where I wrote a TV show called Smoke that we're going to be filming and working on, where it is a make-believe show about a man who's half human and half ghost. And he goes into real haunted facilities, which will be filmed in Paulding, Ohio, Paulding Jail. We're going to move around in each episode. The whole deal of it is to tell our story, kind of like Nightmare on Elm Street meets Supernatural, kind of horror kind of deal, and based somewhat on the true story. So if you want to find out the true story, if you want to visit these places, if you want to do paranormal investigations, you want to throw money into these places, you get the opportunity. At the same time, we'll promote our show. So it's a win-win for everybody, because a lot of people know these places, man, they're not government funded. These are people that own these buildings, funded themselves, may raise money themselves, keeping the history alive. We don't need no more Airbnbs. We don't need no more Walmarts. You know what I'm saying? So support the paranormal world, whether you believe it or not. Check into it yourself and know the history first before you people. That's why I got things that tell people there's a difference between paranormal and horror.
Right.
And you gotta know
that. That's the thing. As I said, I've been doing this. This is the 46th year I've been doing paranormal investigations. Okay, I've been doing this for a long time. And when I give the presentations, everybody says, "Oh, I want to go on one," and stuff. I was like, "No, you want to be scared. So go to these horror houses if you want to be scared." Okay, because 9 out of 10 times nothing's going to come out and go boo in your face here. Okay, you're just going to hear a voice, or you're going to see something that's not going to make you scream. I was like, if you want to get scared, you go there. If you want to really investigate, like you did, and I'll jump ahead a little bit here to Rosalia, okay, which you filmed most of in Poatstown. Now, for the sake of disclaimer, I did the website for Poatstown. I did all of Dan Allen's websites, and even Hannah House, okay, was mine too. But Randolph County, the old jail, it was all my website. And my deal with them was, and I can tell people, my deal with them was simple. I gave them the website for free, the hosting and stuff, but my team got to investigate once a year.
Oh, wow.
Free. So it was a trade-off, really, for it.
That's a good trade.
Yeah, for me, it was a great trade, because we knew there were 5 places a year we definitely were going to, and then we would travel to go to do other stuff. But you're right, it's stuff like, in Poatstown, there's enough activity going on in a place like that.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I'm sure during the movie you probably had a ton of it, because it's when you least expect it is when it happens in Poatstown.
What's crazy is if you've never met Chris Maggard and his family, Chris was an investigator, and I actually went through Poatstown before we filmed to look into, investigate, tour it. And then when we got there to film, I slept inside there for like almost 2 months off and on. They have a place where it looks, you can't even tell it has a carpet, a bed, and everything. People can't tell it was a classroom. So I slept in there. Everybody else wanted to sleep in the location and everything. Like, well, Santiago's sleeping there. Where are they? And they all got attacked. It was hilarious. I mean, at that time, of course, there were the makeup artist got scratched and pushed, and they ended up getting a hotel like, a mile or so away or so. that they brought in a trailer for people to sleep out in the parking lot, whatever. I stayed inside there, nothing happened. Even the owner, I think, got hit with something.
Daryl always gets hit with something.
Yeah,
Daryl was
so it was, and then we had this investigation where I told this young teenager, I said, "Hey, man, he goes, I'm leaving. This is all crap and all that. Um, so he didn't take it serious, and I was like, "Hey, don't break the circle, bro. I'll take you back to the green room. I can find my way." That dude was tossed about 2 feet off the ground to a wall, almost dislocated his shoulder. They had to turn the lights on to the whole place. His mom was freaking out. The kid at first was hurt, and he's like, "I don't want to go to the hospital." Then he figured to go, "This shit is real." He was excited about it.
It is, let me ask you, because the thought came up, what was your first paranormal experience? Do you remember your very first one?
Yeah, man. It was a house in Kentucky. We went through some slave tunnels. I started feeling buckly, like buckle. My knees started buckling. I almost started crying. I started feeling really sad stuff. We had this green light. We had these sprays because we were trying to track blood, and a whole bunch of stuff. It was some FBI kit they had and crazy stuff. And all of a sudden, like a handprint came out and like disappeared in the stone, like that, like almost like they were crawling. It was crazy. They all started screaming. Everybody started running. I don't get it. They're paranormal investigators. They screamed and just started running out. I'm stuck in this tunnel that was built, handmade, built, attached to this house that's over 100-some years old. And then we go in and they tell the voice boxes were talking to him clear as day. We want Santiago, like literally run a whole sentence. We want Santiago upstairs. Nobody else comes up. And I'm going, what the hell is going on, And so me, I'm like at 2 a.m. Hi, yeah, baby, positive energy. I didn't want nothing negativity. I didn't want them to feed off of fear, anything. Praying that me and Jesus are tight. We're working it. So I go up to this room, the hallway, and there's this room with like a bed, and like you could tell somebody lived there years ago because this guy left this house in the 80s. We went back in there and it still looked like the 80s. It was a time capsule. 80s, yeah, because he was like, my mom gave me this house, and I told him when I was a kid, I was it's haunted, and they didn't believe him, and he slept there for maybe a month and left, and just has people go in there cleaning, never sells anything, nothing out of it. So we go in there anyway. So I go up this hallway. As soon as I go through that walk room, I freaking almost fall down. I go downstairs. I'm like, whoa, what was that? They're like, what happened? I was like, man, I just felt weird, like something went right through me and everything. Going downstairs, and they were like, you're okay? They give me water. I'm walking around, what else happened? Oh, the magnet, the electric rods started going off, and they didn't have none of the batteries or anything in it. So fast forward 3 months later, 2 months later, this lady, they reach out to me and they go, hey, Santi, I'm going to show you this video. Like, we're all freaking out right now. And it's this little girl coming down with me from them stairs, holding my hand in an old pilgrimage outfit. I mean, they had 3 companies that confirmed that it was a legit video.
Now, you have children, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a daughter?
I have a daughter.
Okay. Because usually what happens, I've noticed with spirits, is, especially with children's spirits too, they attach to a parent figure that they know that they can trust because they know you have a daughter. And that's why you'll find like the girl probably following you around in there. That's the reason for that. But then by the same token, you're on the other side, your light is so bright that you can actually draw other stuff to you. So you really need to watch both sides of that. But
definitely, man.
So it wasn't until you went on an investigation that you experienced something paranormal? In other words, you didn't before you went on that.
No,
That
I never. No, well, only Keith really knows my childhood history and
Mhm.
stuff that I went through. Walking in the basement, and you know, old days when they had boiler rooms, kind of deal in the basement. Walking through cemeteries. I used to sneak out at night. I used to be. I was like maybe fudge 14, 15 years old kid sneaking out at night, you know, out in the streets and hanging out with older people, freaking cleaning, hanging out at bars when I was a kid. I mean, I was crazy, you know, and
my
I
dad was a cop.
experienced.
I
So
wasn't.
you know, them days you can sneak cross through people's yards and everything. Well, I was crossing through cemeteries and hospitals and asylums, and all that stuff started hitting me one on one. You know, where you know, not like I would again. I'm so protected where nothing attached me. You know, and but I felt presence. I heard voices. I seen things. You know, and but I never carried it out. Now here we go going into this house, and they brought it all back and continues to do it everywhere I go, man.
See, I used to, with my stuff, I worked for a church, a Catholic church, and I was the organist for them. But I also was into rock music. So there was a piano down the hall, and I had keys, and yeah, I was playing my Elton John stuff, and Eric Clapton's songs and stuff, and I had a band. But I was playing one night by myself on the piano, and guy who was the maintenance guy walked by, Pop was Anthony, and I went, "Hey, Pop," smiled and kept walking. And I kept playing what I was playing. All of a sudden, stopped. He had died 2 years earlier, but I had
Wow.
clear as day walk past me. Okay, and I wasn't smoking nothing. Okay, I was a good boy. And so I looked everywhere for him and couldn't find him.
That's
So
crazy.
about a month later, I was going downstairs to the basement where we kept our stuff. There was these little rooms, and all the lights were on, and I heard stuff going on in the workshop, which was next to our room. So I go down to this little stairwell and a little hallway, and I walk down this little hallway, and the lights are on in the workshop, tools are out, but nobody's in there. And I'm like, all right. So I got chilled just now. First paranormal investigation started then because
That's
that next night I spent like 6 nights in a row, not all night, but hours sitting in the dark in my room, which was next to it, listening with a flashlight and stuff, so that the moment something would start, I hear noise there, I'd get up and run in with my flashlight, to try to look
that's
around
good.
to see what it was. So yeah, I mean I think it's much more open when we're younger
Uh-huh.
because we haven't been told so many times you're a nut, you're
Yeah,
crazy.
you're a nut, or it's the devil, or it's not true, or you know,
I met
but
Grant
you know.
Wilson at one of the Scarefests one year, and I went up to him and here and there on the TV shows, but I said, "Yeah, I need to shake your hand," because I had already known Jason already, and he goes, "Why?" I said, "Well, I was like, you and Jason made us not look like nerds anymore." Because all those people that were doing this and investigating, people looking at us like we were crazy all these
Yeah.
years. And I was like, and you made it normal for us. And I remember exactly what he said. He says, "Yeah, we made it normal. Remember, we were Roto-Rooter guys." He said, "So we would go into a house and we'd hear like, oh shit, those guys from those paranormal guys that see ghosts are in here. Maybe they'll see one in our pipes or something." I mean, he said the stuff that he used to hear.
Yeah,
See, and I
that's
get
too
it a
funny.
little bit. So I want to keep moving forward here. Okay, let's talk about acting. Okay, I know when you were a kid, they couldn't get you off the stage in front of a camera. Okay, but how did you go from Gibson law firm writer and all that stuff to, I mean, being in big big TV shows?
Yeah,
You were in
well,
Nashville, correct?
yeah. What happened was is like when I got an agent and everything, you know, I already wanted to work on just to check it out, you know, just
Mm-hmm.
I never wanted to grow old and say, what if I took that left instead of that right? I wanted to make sure you know, I'd put something into it because I grew up. Everybody's like, dude, you should be a host of a TV show. I see you on TV. There's so many times in my life where production companies are around to interview people to do, you know, skits for game shows or whatever, and I've been on them little by little. You know, and then like I said, the film incentives hit in business out in the South. I was getting a lot of gigs doing commercials, modeling, you know, just making these, saving a lot of money because nobody was hiring people from Chicago and all that. Atlanta was getting big, Louisiana, Kentucky, Arkansas. I was just going everywhere in the South, man. And it just grew and grew to the point where my name came out through a lot of these filmmakers are also independent filmmakers, you know, so it got out. Next thing you know, man, I'm helping and auditioning and going everywhere. And then I get this call to do a show for Fox. I'm out there doing a miniseries in Louisville, Kentucky for Fox. And then my agent calls me. It was like, hey, oh, you're on The Walking Dead. Oh my God, you're on The Walking Dead. It's going. I'm going. The Walking what? She's like, you don't know what it is? I was like, I
You're
don't
like
know.
me when zombies first came. It's like, what? Come on.
So yeah, I've been doing it before that. I've been on USA Network, Lifetime Movies, a lot of stuff. You know, Walking Dead brought my name more into the horror and paranormal world, which I'm very blessed because I did Rosalie, Beast of the Waters right now on Paramount Plus. I mean, you know, I'm filming another like 4 movies coming out, horror thriller based. I got 4 more movies I'm filming this year actually.
And you said you're still writing and have horror films and stuff from that too.
Yes, yes. And the TV show Smoke, you know, it's going to be out there. We're going to work as much as we can on it. The whole deal is I'm the writer along with my friends Mike and D Woods, the couple that I met through networking, also filmmakers, authors, and so forth. And they wrote a script, took my story, created a script with all of us. They put their brains in it, freaking fantastic human beings. And I said, you know what? I really don't need to be in this. I was like, I got a schedule of filming other stuff, but there's a way I could be in it. And they agreed on it. So I'll be on the set off and on, but we're going to hire local actors, small businesses, you know, a lot of great people. Of course, some well-known names here and there, but it all depends how the production goes.
See, it was one of the Mid-Souths, one of the more recent ones, when I remember it was in that hotel, um, and Robbie Thomas was there.
Yeah.
Remember him? Okay, and his wife. And I had known Robbie for a while. It was the first time I actually got to hang out with him. That was a nut job. Okay, but I remember it was Saturday night. We all got together to go out to eat. Chris Maggot had a place. I think it was, I don't know if it was in New Albany on the Kentucky side. It was some big bar. Remember, some craft bar, and we had the
Yeah.
table that ran all the way down. Okay, and but before we went there, you took us to, and all of us to a studio or the offices of what was going to be a production company or something
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
that you
I
said.
remember that.
Was it in New Albany? I think.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and so are you still going on the line of maybe the best way to get some of this stuff out is to do it yourself?
Yeah, man. The whole deal is this, you know, we create a kind of like what John Favreau and Adam Sandler did. All their little cliques of friends that helped them out, whether they're involved in the industry or helped out, you know, either way, they're all in their production. They're all their friends, but also business. I want to create that kind of production company, but in a manner where it helps all. No, it's like it helps all genre of entertainment, but it has to be based with small businesses, entrepreneurs, you know, people that just need that break. And if, you know, if I can get my name popular and more into a higher standard, I want to do that formula and introduce it more into the world where people don't have to deal with the rules and red and black tape or whatever of Hollywood and all these big companies. And we're tired of reboots.
Yeah.
That's as simple as I can do it. But at the same time, it's all small businesses, people that work out of their house, their garage, they're renting something. They lost a lot of them through the pandemic. Whether it's a shirt maker, a designer, a filmer, an editor, a guy that does toys and 3D printing. I'm into all that, and I got a lot of great people involved in it. And that's where we want to take it off. But it doesn't work unless everybody works together.
Right. And you know what? It has to be done. They said there's going to be a new America after COVID. I know one of those people lost a lot of money during COVID. Not only my regular business, I had just started a health spa. You imagine that stuff.
Oh,
okay?
dude.
Health spa, and then we get hit with COVID. Okay. Nobody was going to go near that place. And I lost my shirt on that one. I mean,
well, that's the thing. And we're scared because when it comes into something like a pandemic or a thing with like suicide and addiction, fentanyl, overdose, I could go on heroin, everything. It gets to that moment where it's more controlled to the political and government world, and it's sad. We're getting close to a election year. This one pass was just a taste of it. Look at the crazy shit where people say, hey, the voting machines, or we had to go to different places to vote, or this left and this right didn't agree. And it's just constant bullcrap. Now we're entering a presidential election. Last time we got hit by COVID. What the hell? Hopefully it's I just don't want nothing that I have to shit my asshole out. And I don't want no diarrhea. I don't want shit or vid. I don't want shit or vid. Or ass cheek vid. I just don't want, because you think it was bad COVID not having toilet paper. Imagine if you get something that comes out of your asshole that's a vid.
Well, let's put it this way. There is a recession about to happen. Every economist says it's about to happen. And I actually was reading where Walmart, Target, and a few of these big stores have cut like almost billions of dollars worth of orders. So they're going to create an almost artificial shortage again of things. Because really, there was no shortage on toilet paper. There wasn't like people just stopped making toilet paper.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
There was toilet paper. It was just that we weren't getting it, is what it came to. Isn't it amazing? Once a week, there was a big supply of it. Okay?
Yeah, then you get these idiots that are probably paid. Hey, man, just fill your card up with toilet paper. You support our company and corporation.
You know how many people I know that are still probably using the toilet paper they bought from back then.
Dude, it's all it is. That's why I tell people, you be wise, market, manage your money. People think that when I talk to people that are involved, that got money or some kind of savings or stuff, I tell them, invest in it wisely. Invest in something you like. Do small investments. Just because it's the word investment or the whole stock market, people think you got to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest. You don't. I just did a movie with my friends in Jonesboro, Arkansas, called Slaughtery. And COVID changed a lot of things in it. And people are like, man, you probably are losing a lot of money. No, we made it for like $5,000. We're gonna sell it freaking on opening night at a theater. We're gonna make $5,000. Then we've got DVD sales. And now the great part of it is I'm hooked up with some 3D printing guys. We're gonna make action figures, and that goes with all the other projects. So you gotta be smart with your investment and know who and what and where, the whole noun of what you're gonna be invested with. If I come up to you and said, dude, I'm gonna make a TV show Smoke. We need $60,000, but I'm taking investors for $5,000. We might or we might not use your money, but if we do either, we're still keeping you in the investment. How's that sound? Oh hell yeah! No, it sounds great. And I tell them exactly what it is. The worst case scenario is you're getting your damn money back. But I am gonna look at a cheaper route in a way where I could do an Indiegogo, GoFundMe, but I need starting money for production. I mean, there's so much things that you can work the system to help an investor, and then you help small businesses get sponsors. You know, everybody sells T-shirts, everybody buys hats.
See, and I've watched a number of companies. I think he might have even, Magid might have even used GoFundMe for Rosalia to get parts of that done. I mean, we talked about Jim O'Reilly and Scott with Los Bastards. I mean, they do that with every one of their movies. They do a GoFundMe for it, and people are willing just to see their name. They're at the end. They're willing to do stuff, and I'd laugh at it, but I actually like it because they were great movies. Like, even if we were to even take the book, okay, that's a great movie right there. Okay, but what is Hollywood going to end up doing to it? Okay, they're going to slaughter it. They're going to make it something sloshy. They're going
It's
to
got to
put
be
like,
marketable.
yeah, okay, they're going to put like George Clooney to play the soldier. It's just going to lose its validity, because it's
Right.
going to be Hollywoodized, if there's such a word for it. And that, to me, is such the bright future of the small independent filmmakers, because you don't have to spend, $6 million to make it. You can do
And
it
it's the
with
same quality.
$50,000. Yeah.
Same quality. I
Mm-hmm.
tell all the time, it's look, the people that I have to make films and projects, it's the same equipment that they use in technology, editing, filming,
Mm-hmm.
lights, every lenses, all that Disney, Marvel, all these people use. The difference is they don't have that name, and you're
Right.
paying extra for that market name. There's shirts that has a Nike emblem, and there's a shirt that doesn't. It's a gray shirt, but one has a little symbol, one doesn't, and they're selling it more because of that damn symbol.
Right. Buy it wholesale, either $4 a shirt or $1 a shirt. I know. I've been there.
Exactly.
I've seen how that works. So basically, in the future now, you have a lot of projects ahead of you.
A lot.
Yeah, I
A
mean,
lot.
for our audience to know, okay, to get the show started, okay, we read late because you were on a call from a producer and stuff. Before
Yeah,
we,
yeah. In California,
yeah,
producer out and writer in California for a cool concept TV show that they already got 2 seasons, and it's on like streaming and making money off of it. And they invited me to do their third season, get involved with it. And I can't tell you much about it, but it does
no,
involve, of course, comedy and ghosts.
but you know what? I mean, this is really what when I got you on the show because Norther. Okay, this is basically an author-based show. Okay, well, I got you on the author side, but there's so much more to Santiago Cirilo, and I think that most people. I'm almost going to tell you, as a marketing person, you boot that all these paracons are wrong because you're basically pushing what people will recognize. The zombie stuff and stuff. But I think you need to put more of your stuff up there. You need to put about the books and everything else there in that big banners, and let people realize that there's so much more to that booming voice we hear. Because I got the saying, I found myself in Fort Wayne when we were at, I can't remember what the show was. My wife, if she was sitting here, would tell me exactly what it was. And I remember sitting working on booth, and you must have been close by because all of a sudden I heard your voice, and the guy in the booth next to me said, "What the hell was that?" And I was Santiago, and he like looked at me. I was like, "Just don't ask, okay? It's Santiago."
Yeah. Hi, yeah, yeah. I
I
motivate
remember
people,
we came
man.
down our row at that point, and we said hello to you there and stuff. Jen was there and walked away, and I turned back to him. I was like, Santiago, as you walked away. But listen, Santiago, I want to thank you for joining us today, taking the time out of your schedule. I know that it's been busy and stuff, but I appreciate you being here with us. And to everyone else, you don't have a website yourself, do you?
No, man, I do all my social media. You know, of course,
Right, off
the
of
big
Facebook.
socials:
Mhm.
Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Now, that you know, and it's all me running it. You can reach me out there. You know, my name is out on the market. You search my name and you'll find me anywhere.
And the fact is, there'll be a link here that would right next to this video where it's up here for the foundation you were talking about too, with the
Yes,
bullet and
yes.
everything else. We will have the link up there for that as well. And yeah, I want to thank you for taking the time being with us this week. It's truly
Thank
appreciated.
Thank you, brother Steve, man. Thank
Okay.
you, your family. Much love to you guys out there, man. And nothing but continuous success for everybody.
And the same thing for you, because I know you have a podcast, and I'm going to let you throw in your thing. I know people don't like I'm not one of those. Okay, tell people about
Yeah,
your
I do
podcast.
podcast. I do podcasts with different networks, but I do one specifically for mental health. It's called the High Nation Motivation. It's on. It's audio, so if you're driving or anything, you
Mm-hmm.
know. It is 20 to 30 minutes of saving your life. I guarantee you, it motivates you. Whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're battling addiction, suicide, you're trying to be following your dreams. It is a great motivation. It is straight talk, no intro music, no outro music. It's straight into it. And I also do a live with my Facebook page for the High On Nation for a network, whether it's podcast owners, people that are going in college, need jobs, want to be in the entertainment business, paranormal, horror, whatever. It's all of us joking around. We don't talk politics. We don't talk religion. We don't. We already are a lot, but we get to the point where we make fun of ourselves, you know,
We
and
have fun.
and it's just getting that 1 hour away from the so-called real world,
Yeah,
and
I don't know if there is.
everybody loves it. Everybody loves it. I joke around on myself.
Let's join his page, his Facebook page, because how many times you just pop up, go live for like 15 minutes someplace? Okay, so I've seen a number of those as well. So you
Yeah,
know,
and if you reach out to me, if you're a podcast, you're a small business owner, an entrepreneur, I'll wear your T-shirt. I'll promote you. I mean, all of it is free, man. It's just
yeah.
a big happy family.
Well, I'm going to have you send me the link to the podcast so that I can put it up there as well for them.
Ah, yeah, baby.
Well, Santiago, I want to thank you for joining us today. And I know, even though with Jen and I going to Florida, you know, we're already planning on doing like Mansfield, which we already have. So we're going to be around for a number of Paracons this year as well. So I know we'll run into you again soon.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm doing a few, man. I'm doing some
Okay.
special ones, and it's good, man. And hopefully everybody goes out there and supports each other at these Paracons, man. They really
That's
need
what
it,
it's
man.
supposed to be all about, you know. Come out, have a good time, and get a good laugh with all of us. Because you know, when we're at those things, we're out there just to have a good time, to meet the people and to laugh. So it's great being there. All right, Santiago, thanks for joining us today, and to everyone, hope to see you again next Thursday.
Hiya!